Siku moja moja ukipata nafasi tukumbukane, nitalipa boda boda, achana mwendo kasi usijivane bane. Ewe binti maringo, sijui wanisikia, pendo lako nicheze bingo, wenda nikajishindia. Mwenzako bado niko single, pendo limenichachia. Uwezuka niwe tingo, iwe abiria. Nafsi unainyong'onyeza, na isila moyo shambulio, nifanye chipsi chombeza, japo nionje mwenzio, penzi linanilegeza. Sonona eti, ili utapata nafasi. Sonona yoyo, nambie basi. Sonona sinyonge, naishi kwa wasiwasi. Sonona wangu moyo, mwepesi karatasi. Sonona. Mwaga wino wa kalamu ya penzi langu, chimba shimo unizike kabla ya siku yangu. Hakuna sejua matatizo ya moyo ukipenda, unanifanya mwana sesere kunichezesha. Mimuoka macho usoni, sijeshikwa na kuiku kimasihara. Sema niandae vipopcorn, unyonye na vipipi vya duara. Nafsi unainyong'onyeza, na isila moyo shambulio, nifanye chipsi chombeza, japo nionje mwenzio, penzi linanilegeza. Sonona eti, ili utapata nafasi. Sonona baby yoyo, nambie basi. Sonona sinyonge, naishi kwa wasiwasi. Sonona wangu moyo, mwepesi karatasi. Sonona uje baby, uje Mombasa wakuone, uje Talo, uje Nairobi wakuone, uje baby, uje Dar es Salaam wakuone, uje baby, 001 wakuone.
Right. So let's do this. Wachira. Bwana Wachira. All right. So I want to start this session. So I want to welcome everyone joining tonight's session. So tonight we are having an interesting discussion with Mr. Haron Wachira. So maybe I want to explain how this conversation will run. First of all, this conversation will start with Mr. Wachira introducing himself and what he does. And then after that, Mr. Wachira will actually go to the details about just a brief about his life. Then after going to that detail, then he will be sharing about how to survive this lockdown and this crisis of COVID-19. So he will be sharing all that. After that, we will be getting to our panel. We will be joining this session. We'll be asking Mr. Wachira questions in this discussion about reinventing yourself in a time of crisis like this one. Then everyone, you also are invited to join this conversation. I'll be pinning the link on the comment box. So welcome very much for this session. So Wachira, I just want to give it to you. Maybe you can start first by introducing yourself. We go to the details about your life before we go even to the presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ghost, for inviting me to this show. I'm actually an old man, and I've been working for many years. I have worked as a journalist for 7 years. Some of maybe you, if you ask your grandparents, you might get to hear of a magazine that used to be called Step Magazine. I used to be the editor of Step Magazine. We had a circulation of 53,000 copies in 11 African countries as of the time when I left in 1987. Then I switched careers. I worked for Price Waterhouse before the merger, and I worked for them for 5 years in process improvement. I was dealing with internal systems, using software as a tool for making that happen. And then later on, when they merged in 1998 with Coopers and Librad, I joined them back as an associate consultant, also responsible for process improvement. I built for them systems, and also we built systems for their clients. Now, that's about my work. I have also run my own business. I started a computer company that some people may know. I was called Diamond Systems. I believe it is still in existence. And I was in partnership with somebody from the US in that business. And for a number of 5 years, we used to control about 30% market share. We've also been in education in ICT. I partnered with Jomo Kenyatta University to implement ICT training for between 1995 and 98. We had, I think, 7,500 students in class as of the time when that venture was completely taken over by the university. So I've done a few things. I'm married to one wife. Her name is Margaret. We live in Kirinyaga. We have 5 grandchildren, and we have, for work, we run a small factory that processes moringa oleifera, and at the same time also I do process improvement work on a consultancy basis. So that's a lot about me in about 1 minute. Thanks.
Great.
And I'm born again. I'm a Christian. I love the Lord, and everything that I do it from the point of view of a Christian perspective.
All right. I don't know. There's some noise. I don't know if it's coming from you, Wachira.
It's coming from my house. I have grandchildren here. I'm signaling to my wife to get them to another room because I think the noise is coming from here.
Okay. No problem. No problem. Right. So maybe Wachira, now you can also go to the videos, just a little bit about your life. How did you grow up? Maybe was it a normal life? Just we want to understand your journey. Maybe not what you have done, just when you are young.
No.
How was it?
I was born in what would have been classified as a Christian family. My grandfather was among the people who started Christianity, the preaching of the gospel in this particular in Mount Kenya region in the 1920s there, and he brought up a family of boys who did not follow his footsteps. So although my grandfather was a very faithful follower of Christ to his end and had a tremendous influence on me, my own father was not a follower of Jesus Christ, and he ended up bringing us up in a polygamous home, and it was very difficult for us because I think at that time the second wife understood that her object was to make sure that she gets privilege, and so it's the first family that suffered. So I had a lot of difficulties, had my education interrupted, had a lot of trouble growing up, and but I grew up in the village. In fact, in the same farm that I am now living in, because my grandfather on his deathbed left it to me. So I grew up that way. So I'm a village boy. In terms of education, I grew up in a rural school. I grew up in a rural family, and the difficulties that you can experience. But my mother was a very hardworking woman initially, and then she herself, I think, broke down as a result of the stresses of having to try and cope with a marriage that wasn't working. And so the marriage broke up. We were alone as children for quite a number of years, and it was very difficult. So I mentioned that for those who may think that difficulties in childhood may hinder them later on in life, you can overcome all situations as God may enable you.
Wow, amazing. So maybe now I want to to give you the opportunity to share about your presentation and also how people can reinvent themselves at this crisis. Of course, right now, there's so many people might be going through difficult times in terms of jobs, businesses are not maybe paying right now. And as well as those young people you have mentioned who come from a very humble background. And of course, there is those who say that maybe they might have been in a very well-to-do family and then they lost it. So maybe now I want to give you this chance to take it home and now to talk to everyone and how we can reinvent ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much. I will keep my presentation quick because I would like to have a lot of time for questions, but I think it is very important to discuss principles. And the first principle that I will, the three keywords we will talk about are those: work, invest, and growing. And around them, I'll deal with a number of principles, starting with the principle of an ethical fiber, the next slide that you have. Now, many people do not quite realize that what really matters in terms of what an employer is looking for is somebody who is faithful. The Bible asks that question. Just, a faithful man who can find. People praise themselves. In a job interview, I've sat down in thousands of them. People talk about how good they are, how skilled they are. They talk about all that sort of thing. But the Bible asks, who can find a faithful man? Now, I would like to tell you that over the jobs that I have done, those in those several organizations I've worked in, and the ones I am consulting in right now, I think more than 1,000 people have gone through my hands. And I can tell you, if I were to count how many of those people are faithful to their employer, I don't think I would be able to count to 100 out of that 1,000 or so. It's very, very difficult to find faithful people. If you have an ethical fiber ingrained in you to the point where an employer can say, yes, I can trust that man, you will never lack a job, guaranteed. You will always have a job. Now, I compare faithful people to rare resources. They are rare to find and they are precious. And so that's principle number one: before skills, before capacity, before anything else, think about whether or not you can be faithful. Number two, I'll talk about skills. Now, skills, I call them an entry, is a visa to the country called work. If, a lot of education emphasizes theory and rote learning, but I will tell you the best thing is to focus on developing a skill. I will tell you how I came out personally into the job market. When I saw an advertisement when I was 19 years old, I saw an advertisement that said, please, there's a writer's workshop that's going to be held at that time at a place called Daystar University. At that time, it was called Daystar Communications. If you wish to participate, please come and bring an article. I sat down many nights and wrote a story. It was a fiction story of a wildebeest doing the Mara trip and crossing the Mara River, and it was pregnant. But I made it human. I made it could think of the dangers of a lion and also all of that. But anyway, to cut a long story short, when my story was read, it won the first place. I got to be the first position and in terms of preference of the stories that were presented, and it is that story that got me a scholarship into college. So, but you can see the practicing of writing skills I have done since I was about 13. I was preoccupied with the words. I liked to read, I liked to write, and a skill can become an entry job. Having entered, you can change skills, you can actually change jobs, you can change many things, you can improve your skills, but an initial skill is very important to get you to enter. Now, that skill, you can see it's applied to work because work is God ordained. You work as a steward to look after somebody else's thing. You work in a way that brings about profit, according to Proverbs 14:23. And whatever skill that you have is what makes it possible for you to get started on that. But once you have a skill, the big job that you really need to do is to make sure that that skill grows. I personally started off work without any skills because, as I told you, I dropped out of school because of the problems that we had in our family. I got employed as a clerical officer in the Nairobi National Park. I did not stay there for 1 year because during that 1 year, I was able to use my writing skill to move on to another job as an editor trainee. And because of that, I was able to get education to become, to be trained in communications. But even after I trained in communications, I continued to learn using computers. I taught myself to work with a computer, to do programs, to develop those sort of things. And my next job, after working as a writer, editor for 7 years, was that of dealing with very, very complex technical solutions on the software side of things. So you can grow your skills, you can extend your skills, but you've got to stay focused on skills. Employers are always looking for skills. Right now, I am doing some work for an employer to extend their systems, their IT systems, so that people can work in the COVID era without having to meet with other people. That means for example, to work with forms that can be filled on the phone, to collect data on the ground, and to send that data directly to a server, and then to create an interface where a supervisor can review the work done and commit that work if it has been done well, or return it back to the phone if it has not been done well. To do that sort of stuff, you need skills. Right now, I don't write as much, in terms of direct coding. I have people doing that, but I still have to direct them and guide them on that whole process. You have to have very detailed capacity in terms of skills to do that. So point number 2 is skill. Point number 3 is attitude. And I have a whole slide on that one after skill. You can slide upwards to the attitude. And I mislabeled this a visa to what country, but attitude is actually the key to being able to keep your job. Now, most young people that I meet today are looking for big things, like big jobs, big cars, big money. The first thing about an attitude is to learn to start very, very small. I like to tell the story of a woman who listened to me in one place. I talked in a church, and I was talking about that you can start keeping chickens with as low as 2 chickens or even 1 chicken. And then I told them about the power of compounding, which I will talk about in a short while. And about 3 years later, this woman had more than 2,000 chickens, but she started very small. As of the time when I was told about the last report I got about her, she had even managed to buy a pickup. But she started with 2 chickens, and it grew her numbers systematically, selling males and using that one to buy feed for the females, and then having the chicks lay the additional eggs and producing more and more chickens. So start small, be prepared to work very hard, and make sure your work is profitable for you and for your boss. Most people do not think about profit for their bosses. They think about themselves. What will I get? But before you ask that question, ask yourself, what will my boss get in order for this work to get done? I would like to tell you about a story about a place that I did some consulting for, where all the employees were conspiring to steal from the employer, and the project was being closed. But from an appeal somewhere, the employer decided to try again, found me and other people to try and restart that work. And I remember confronting the employees when we discovered what they were doing and asking them, if you steal from your employer to the point where the work runs off, how will you continue to keep the job? And we negotiated with them, and they actually repaid what they had stolen. and the business thrived and it succeeded, and the employer was very happy and reinvested even a lot more money than what was going on in there. So thinking about profit for your employer is an extremely important thing, because you will get more pay as a result of working for an employer who is profitable. Now, the Bible says that you should also be content with what you are getting in Timothy, 1 Timothy 6:6, and be godly about it. You know, godliness and contentment is great gain. That's what the Bible says. Now, if you are contented, you will have time to grow everything that you have. And then, of course, you will be able to invest your gains. And I would say if you're working for somebody, don't invest in a business that takes away time from you. Invest in passive businesses, like to buy shares, or you buy land, or you buy something that government bought if you want to buy those. But do not create competition for the employer while you are working. Do invest in active programs when you are no longer serving that employer, because your time should be dedicated. And then, of course, be patient. Most things take time, a long time. If you study people like Warren Buffett, the share today, one of the most expensive shares in the world, in 1969, it was worth only something like maybe $3 or I don't know how many dollars. But he started very small, Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, and that he's never sold his shares. He's just been growing them, and today he's one of the richest men in the world as a result of that patience. I'm not asking you to be the richest man in the world. I'm not trying to be the richest man in the world, but I think the principle of being patient and waiting over time, especially like right now when things are going wrong, many people are bad on what is working or what they are doing in search of what they might consider to be a solution to an immediate problem, and they lose everything. So patience helps you to overcome even the difficult times that you may be going through. Then I would like to talk about the next item, growth. And here I would like to explain 3 points that don't appear very to be in the awareness of most young people. One, you grow everything. You grow your skills, you grow your attitude, you grow your diligence, everything. What you do and you find it not working well, question it and improve on it. What you have learned, train yourself a little bit more. Sorry, even that noise is still coming from my head. I'm sorry about that. I'm really having a lot of challenge with noise. But anyway, grow everything that you have. That's the first thing. Number 2, the patience that you are using to do your work needs to be extended in every area of your life. Be patient with other people in their work. Be patient with yourself as you grow your skills. Be patient with your employer as you deal with them. Be prepared to actually be very patient. And then this is the most critical point I want to mention here. It's called compounding. When you are in standard D6, I think you are taught the principle of compounded interest. I have always asked myself, why did they teach us compounded interest and not compounded gain? Because our education system was designed for us to be employed by other people, like in a bank, or for us to borrow money from other people. But if you reverse that principle and you begin to look at what compounded interest done, if you take 100 shillings and you invest it hypothetically into something that generates a 20% return, it will be 120. If you reinvest the 120, you get 144, 176, 207, like that. In 51 transactions, that 100 shillings will have grown to 1,000,000 shillings. Now, when I tell this to young people, most of them don't believe it. So we get them to sit down with a calculator, and I tell them just put an exponential if you can to the power of 51, or just keep on multiplying 100 times 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2, 51 times, and you see it adds up to about 1 million shillings. And what this does is this, is to help you know that no matter how small an investment you are dealing with, that investment can grow very, very, very far if you keep on reinvesting in it. Now, it also means that you don't have to worry about having big returns all the time. You can work with small returns because in a compounded way over time, it will grow. Land in Kenya grows at more than 20% growth per annum if you are near a city. So if you just work, get your profit, buy land, and wait, even without developing it, most likely in your older age, you will be able to have enough land to be selling that in order for you to live. If you want to develop it, later on you develop it, you can sell some of it that has really grown in value, and you can use that money to develop. So you don't have to be greedy, you don't have to steal, you don't have to rob, you don't have to be corrupt, just be patient. The last thing I would like to talk about, two major points. One of them is that the new normal in the workplace is what is called a global village. And that global village has remote work that can be done. Right now, there's more work on the internet than all Kenyans, if they were able to work, can perform. Companies like Amazon are hiring more people at this time in spite of COVID because online jobs are becoming very, very much in demand. People like Glovo hired almost all motorbikes now in Nairobi. When I call a motorbike to try and send him, because that's what I do, I send a person to Nairobi, I get a motorbike to go pick it up and deliver it to somebody. That's how I do my deliveries. But right now I call those guys, the motorbike fellows, and they tell me, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot be able to do your job because I'm working for Glovo. That's a global company that is doing courier delivery in Kenya. And I think if you align yourself with being able to work in this global village, you will find yourself never lacking work. Even right now, people like I've put a few examples there, like Upwork. I've worked there. I've worked at Upwork online when they were called Elands for a whole year, and I earned about almost about $3,500 by just doing simple programming jobs and delivering them to clients, working on websites, things like that. People like Freya is a platform for freelancers. Remote Global is another platform. The Flex Jobs, there are many. So you can do your writing there, you can do your programming there, you can even practice your accounting there, you can develop a website for somebody. If you realign yourself to work in this, and I will come back to this subject in a few minutes, you will find that the workplace is not your village. The workplace is in the global village. In the next slide, I've talked about online employability as a criteria to list down the criteria. And I've organized them into 3 sections. One is the technical and professional skills you need. Secondly, the personal attributes. And third are the resources. If you look at my list, you'll find that the personal attributes are the most critical one. You need to be able to work without supervision. You need to be a problem solver. You need to be dependable, faithfulness, what I was talking about earlier. You need to be able to speak well. You need there's a job we do with somebody, and I like the employer from once in a while used to call me and ask me, what was your colleague saying? Because he could not understand his accent. So, I mean, I myself have a heavy accent, but not as heavy as some it can be. But, you know, in your environment right now, you need to learn to speak in a way that an American or a British person can understand what you're saying, and you need to be able to also hear them. And that's just being adaptable enough to understand and to work with people of different nationalities. You need to be willing to collaborate. You need to have empathy. Empathy is thinking, putting yourself in the other person's shoe. Now, The technical skills is the technology, the ability to type. I always feel very sad that most people type with only 2 fingers looking at their keyboard. But the real typing should be done without you looking at a keyboard. I made that a rule for my kids when they were growing up, and today they thank me over and over again that they learned to type fast. One of my daughters can type 70 words a minute, but she learned when she was 7, so she has had a lot of time. Now you need to be. You can download a tool like Typing Tutor that can teach you to type without looking at a keyboard. You need to be able to use a computer. You need to be able to use the internet. You need to be able to use email. You need to have a profession that you can offer, whether you are an accountant or a programmer or whatever, but have a skill that you can offer. And then you need to be able to write well. Then finally, the resources is that you need a computer or a smartphone. I am actually thinking that as more and more universities are forced and schools are forced to go online, there's going to be a big demand for tools that enable students to work like with an app, to do the assignments and submit it, etc., those sort of things. And you need, of course, a reliable connection. Where I'm seated is one spot in my house where I can get a perfect connection. If I move 2 meters from here, you may not be able to hear me. But as long as I sit in this particular spot, I can have a Zoom conference, I can have a video conference, I can do all of that sort of thing. Then you need to be able to have a presence that is seen online, your CV, your profile on places like LinkedIn, and you need to have a PayPal account. People need to be able to pay you when you work for them online. So adapt yourself to develop this profile in order for you to be employable. Now to my last slide. I call it a legacy orientation. Most young people today are thinking about tomorrow. No, today. They want something that can happen just today, in 1 hour. Yeah, they don't want to wait. But 2 points here. One of them, I'm a Kikuyu, and I'm sure in your tribe, whatever it is, you may have a proverb like this. In Kikuyu, we say that old age eats youth. In other words, all the savings that you did when you were young are the ones that help you in your old age. By the time when you reach my age, if you have been working systematically and investing systematically, even if you become an employee at that particular moment, it is possible to have enough resources to be able to sustain yourself through old age and not become a burden to children. And then the Bible puts it in a different way that Proverbs 6:6, learn from the ant, you fool, because the ant keeps during the time of plenty. And then it uses up what it is saved. But most people during times of plenty, they just overspend. Then the Bible also says that a good man leaves an inheritance. I like that word. You don't work to spend everything. You work to store up, to leave an inheritance to your children's children. If you develop children right now, I have them, and I am, I'm happy that I can be able to invest a little something for each one of them, because by the time when they grow up, they may not even have the capacity to afford to pay the kind of education they would like to have. So I am through with my points. If you want to display my contact details, it is the next slide that people can contact me later on if you want. But in the meantime, I'm available to respond to questions and to have discussion and whatever it is that you would like to take this conversation. You can ask me any question. I tell my children, ask me the things that you would like me to tell you, including my failures, because my understanding my failures will protect you from repeating them. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. This is wonderful. Really good presentation. So maybe now, since we have a panel and everyone joining, please you can use the link to ask your question. So maybe we can start with Conrad. Conrad, you can quickly introduce yourself, and then we introduce Alphonse. After that, we go to the main questions. Conrad? Conrad, introduce yourself. Conrad. Conrad?
Yes, hello, Haron.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
My name is Conrad Sanya, joining in from Busia.
All right, good. Thank you very much, Conrad. Maybe you can have also an introduction by Alphonse, and then we'll go to the main discussion.
Hi, Haron. Hi, Haron.
Yeah, you
Hi,
can.
how are you? I think the host muted my mic, but hi, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I know we have met before, and I'm excited to be with you on the show today. I think I don't know how to introduce myself in your presence, but let me say this. Everybody has people who have influenced them in their lives, and I too have people who have influenced me. And the top three people at the point I'm talking now who have influenced me, you are one of them. We met when I was in college, and I remember you having come to preach to us. Then we connected. Then I came to your house, and after some time, I realized I need to live for a bigger purpose. And today, most of the things I do, how I think, how I reason, I tapped a lot of it from how I interacted with you and how you influenced my life. So thank you very much. Some people don't know where I get inspiration, and people who have inspired me. Today, I can tell them that one of the people who have really inspired me is on the show. So you better watch, you better listen and ask questions. You taught me something that I need to be independent, I need to be focused, I need to have manners. What you are talking about as you are starting off, character, I need to have it. And I think it is making my life move on. I was a young man then, not even married. Today I have children who are looking up to me. I have a wife, and things are moving on well. So I am a consultant as we speak in labor policy, but I pick a lot, whether how I read, because you even taught me how my eyes should see the page and how long I should take reading, how fast I should be reading a page or a newspaper if I was to read a whole newspaper. And I think those are very key things that I picked from you. So as we're interacting and people are going to maybe ask questions, I just thought I should just share that part of the influence you have had in my life. And thank you very much. God bless you.
Amen. Right, that's good. Thank you, Alphonse. I'm sorry, Wachira was speaking. You guys.
I just say thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Wachira. I'm just I'm muting your mic just because of the noise. Maybe sometimes when you speak, I'll be putting it on. I also want to confirm. I would want to follow your footstep. I also want to be like Alphonse. So I'll be following you to get that kind of mentorship. So thank you very much. So I'll come now to Kevin. Kevin, you can quickly introduce yourself as we go to the main conversation.
Thank you, Patrick. Can you?
Before he speaks, I think the noise is coming from your own mic. I tested on my side. There isn't. I think you are the source of the noise. So be sure you know how to deal with it.
Yes. Alphonse, let me see. Let me try. So if I put this off, let me put Kevin on. Kevin, can you unmute yours? So now it's okay. So for now it's okay. All right.
Patrick.
Is going on when any one of you is speaking. I don't know whether that's the way I'm coming out to you, but there's a lot of crackling that I'm hearing when any one of you is speaking.
Okay. Let me find out. Alphonse, can you hear me? Can you unmute yours, Alphonse? Alphonse?
Yes, I've unmuted.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you, and I've unmuted. Yes.
So can you hear noise on my side?
Yeah, whenever you are speaking, you are coming out in crackle.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, but we will survive with it. It's not so bad. Maybe we can try and survive with it.
Okay, let's carry on. If the audience can hear, that's okay.
Yeah, sure, they can hear. All right, Kevin, proceed.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. And I wasn't planning to be on this call today. I had other things to do. But then I got captured by the brief presentation there. And of course, now Alphonse just confirmed that this is where you came from. And now all of us are going to be in that line. We want to follow in the footsteps of Honorable Wachira. Honorable Wachira, I'm a software developer. And I've watched your presentation. I felt really, really inspired. So when it's time to ask the questions, I think I have one or two questions to ask. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. So let's move to the main question. We can start with Conrad. Conrad, you can go. Conrad. Conrad.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
So my question, I just have one question right now. My question to Haron is when you are starting, what were some of your greatest fears, especially when you decided to start? What were some of your greatest fears?
All right. So the topic is addressing challenges.
Okay. Now, I have to say that I grew up as a boy in a rural area, and one of the things that you do as a very young kid is that you get exposed heavily to a lot of trouble. I remember I was challenged to carry my first bag of coffee, 83 kilograms, when I was 16 years old. And my greatest fear was that I would stumble and fall with it. It was much heavier than me. But you kick off your adrenaline and you really make sure that you don't get laughed at when that bag is placed on you, to ride it all the way down to the weighing station. And once you have done it, then you realize, my goodness, I can overcome problems that are bigger than me. Now, over time also, for me, my job has always somehow got me into trouble. When I worked with Step Magazine, the magazine was not coming out every month on the same date, and that was causing us a lot of trouble in sales. When I took it upon myself to try and find out why, I discovered that we had to perfect all our processes to be able to come out on the 28th of every month, every single month. And that included meddling with a lot of other people's work, because there were graphic designers and there were the copy editors and there were the people who were making payments. You have to deal with every one of them. And that got me to meddle with a lot of other people, and it got me into a lot of trouble initially, because it wasn't my responsibility to meddle, but I wanted the magazine out on that particular time. But when I did it, I got a promotion. I eventually ended up taking over the magazine, and I realized that as long as you fight your own fears and you deal with them, you will get results that eventually will bear you out. When I worked, the 1 year that I worked for the government, my job was changed about 4 times by guys who did not like me. But God was very gracious, because everywhere where I was placed, I ended up recording some significant success. I was placed in a place where payments were not being made, like reimbursements, for a 3 months period. And I began to look into it. I did not have any experience in accounting or anything like that. But I noticed that these things were being approved by about 3 different offices, but the paperwork was messed up and it wasn't organized in that same order. And by just organizing that paperwork in those 3 piles, I would take one pile, go to one office and sit there the whole day and get all the approvals. Then I would go to the next office, and I cleared that backlog that was like for several years. I cleared it in about 2 weeks. Then, of course, the boss liked me a lot, but my colleagues did not like me because they thought I was being given too much praise. So my biggest fear all the time has always been to fail. But in the process of not failing or trying to work so that you don't fail, you get into a whole lot of other troubles, like stepping on other people's toes, and which can get you into a lot more trouble. And so as you grow older, you begin to fear stepping on other people's toes, and then you now begin to fail proper because you are conforming to the world instead of you becoming the rejuvenator. So I don't know, that's a roundabout way of talking about my biggest fears. But personally, I have never feared about not having capital. Somehow, I've never been afraid of not being able to learn the new skill. Those are not my fears. My biggest fears were always what we are setting ourselves to do. Can we actually make sure that we do it and succeed in it?
All right, great. Conrad, are you okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
All right, good. So I want to maybe go to Alphonse. Alphonse, topic addressing challenges. Alphonse?
Yeah. One of the things that I want to know from Mr. Wachira, and maybe he can share with us in terms of addressing challenges, is where when you stand out in a working space, let's say as an employee or as a person who is in charge of an organization, your own organization, and you are strict to ensure that things are done with integrity. What are some of the issues you have faced in our society we live in today, from the young, the middle, and the old aged, and how have you gone around it? And what can you share with us as young people and younger people than us that we need to pick from that? And this is dealing with our entire society, whether you're dealing with the police, whether you're dealing with the employees themselves, whether you're dealing with suppliers, whether you're dealing with tenders, all that.
I've understood your question, and I would like to tell you that my biggest frustration over time has been to notice how corrupt not only our society is and how our government is, but also how corrupt Christians are. That part is discouraging, because I have been in several churches where I have had a series to deal with topics, and almost always I get withdrawn from the pulpit when we begin to deal with corruption, to teach men not to be corrupt. And personally, I have closed several businesses around corruption. I used to have manufacturing at a board warehouse, and the government officers established a point where they thought they would be collecting bribes. And when they realized we are not collecting bribes, they created fictitious cases, like our store was not very secure, things like that. I built another store elsewhere, completely secure to whatever specifications they had insisted. They refused to come and inspect it. I have been involved in government tenders where over and over again we win a tender, and then we put around the table and we refuse to give a bribe, and we lose the tender. Many of my branding work has been a major frustration, because within KEBS, to get a certificate, it is, for the time when I have tried, it's not so much the goods that are good that to get the certificate, but the goods that will be paid a bribe for. And you can see we are paying the price for it as a society. I have a truck that typically doesn't go on the road, except right now when I'm with it, because I can argue with the police officers. But every time I send a driver, he gets arrested. And when he learns that, when the policeman learns that he does not get a bribe for nothing, no reason at all, we get involved in a court case that lasts for a whole year. I've had many of those. Almost everywhere, corruption is there. But the biggest frustration for me, because the Lord dealt with me a long time ago about this and told me, I want you to be my witness on the roads, and I want you to be my witness among the policemen and in the government offices. So when you are faced with corruption, use that as an opportunity to witness to the Lord, about the Lord, to those people. And I told them, no, I cannot bribe. And they argue with me. They told me they are pastors with collars and they give bribes. I say, well, we're not trying to be like anybody. We just like to be obedient to the Lord Jesus Christ. And when the policemen realize that you never pay a bribe, they will frustrate you, or they will refuse to approve whatever it is that you went to approve in a government office, but they will hear the gospel message. So my resolution is not to solve society or to solve or to create success in my business. I have walked away from tenders that would have made me a billionaire, but to make sure that the name of the Lord gets preached in that circumstance. So I know that answer doesn't satisfy people, because people would like to know how you resolve the corruption so that in spite of it, you still succeed. And I would say, the Lord has never lacked, has never made me lack. Every day I have enough to eat, but with a lot of trouble sometimes, but I eat. And I'm not seeking to be a rich man. I'm seeking to please the Lord in those things that we are doing.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. I just want to give you a small instruction, Wachira. Can you use? I'm getting some information from Kevin, who is a tech guru. Can you use an earphone?
Can I use an earphone?
Yes, maybe the noise is because of the earphones. If you have earphones, you could use them.
Is the noise coming from my end?
Yes.
Let me pick up one here. Just hang on.
Yeah, sure. All right. So maybe we can continue. This happened even yesterday. I think we have the same program. So let's see if you will fix that, and then we can proceed. And thank you, Kevin. You are the tech guy here. Yeah.
No, you just try it. If it works, it's fine.
Okay, good. All right. Wachira? All right, maybe we can, before as he comes, maybe we can. All right, I think he's back. Let me see. Let me try to fix. All right. So as he comes, maybe we can get Alphonse. Alphonse, you can give your perspective from what we are hearing from Wachira.
I'm keeping my cool because, as I said, Wachira has influenced me in several ways, and deeply for that matter. I think after my uncle, he is the next person who has influenced me the most. So I really would like to hear more from the others. I will be giving my insights here and there. But one thing I've learned from him is just the fact that he's he's seriously all-rounded. As we speak now, he's doing agribusiness as the main thing, and it's a big issue that he's working on. And yet, as he shared earlier, he shared that his initial and original training is in journalism and communication, which he has also perfected very well, and he has worked well in the past. But also in IT space, he actually I think he will be sharing here, and he has successfully worked with hardwares and also softwares, and he has had successful businesses in those fields. And as Ken is coming up with other people we have hosted in the show before, it's not about necessarily training in the past, but the issue of searching for the skill, sharpening the skill, and then working around the same skill to become an ardent person who you can use your skill to solve societal problems, but also to build a business idea successfully, solving people's problems and earning an income from it. So I think I just want to hear more from him, and I will be giving my colleagues and other people the first chance of asking questions. But then I'll be chipping in also with asking questions. I feel privileged because I'm the most privileged amongst us in relation to interaction with the host, with the guest today.
Good, thank you. Wachira, now you see it's solved. This is why we always have Kevin. We should have known it earlier. I'm sorry about that. Can you maybe now we cannot hear you? Can you unmute your? Are you okay? So there is no noise, but we cannot hear you. Wachira. All right, let me get instructions from. Now, Kevin, can you chip in, please?
Yeah, I think you must be having an issue with the default speaker. So you should be able to change the default speaker. I think if you're using a computer or a laptop, you can always right-click on the speaker icon and then select playback devices. And then from there, you can be able to change the default speaker to the one you just plugged in right now.
All right, Wachira, can you maybe follow those instructions from Kevin? Yeah, you are back now. You're good. Can unmute. Yeah, you're good.
It is muted.
I am not able to work with it.
Oh, there is still noise. Huh?
It's not working. For some reason, I'm not able to.
Okay.
The mic is not working very well.
All right. So, so we are going to write instructions. Kevin, can you write for me those instructions, and then we'll just send the instructions, and then you can follow them.
I think we'll have to use what we have because the earphones are not working properly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we will have to survive with the. Maybe let's just proceed. This happens, technology, especially now. Okay. So maybe Conrad, you can weigh in terms of what we are learning from Wachira. Yeah, Conrad. All right. So Conrad too has. Okay.
Now I have an issue. I don't know. I'm trying to unmute my mic. It takes a lot of time for it to be unmuted. So, okay. We are still in early, so I was just trying to learn because he has been in this game for long, and some of us are just starting. And it is a good point when we hear this advice from people who have already been in this thing for long, who have been in the entrepreneurship journey for long.
All right. Sawa. Thank you, Conrad. Since Wachira is here, we are trying to solve this. Maybe since we could not solve it.
I got my my headphones and they did not quite seem to be working. I'm sorry about it. I've never had any other trouble with my phone, so I don't know what to do at this particular moment. I can try to find other mics, but I think I will lose time.
Okay, it's okay. We can just we can proceed the way it is, right, Kevin? What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, we can proceed because I think Wachira is using a phone and not a computer. So we can proceed.
No problem. All right. So Wachira, I'll just let maybe Kevin come in, and then Kevin, you can now ask a question. I know you're also a developer, just like Wachira. Maybe now ask him a question.
Okay, so now that Wachira trained Alphonse successfully, I think I should get through to Alphonse and maybe try to hold his legs, so he can pass down the information to me as well. But I wanted to let you know that I am a potential candidate for your classes. I'm a potential student. I personally do software, but at the same time, I have extended the skill to work in healthcare settings. So I mostly develop tech solutions for medical records and also analyzing research data. And then I was looking at your blog's website right now, and I think I really got inspired. But I also have a website that maybe I will share with you. I don't know how I can share that with you so that you can take a look and also advise me on what is good and what I should be doing better. I looked at the resources you put on the presentation, and I was comparing with my personal resources, and I think I kind of ticked all of them. So I have these resources you are talking about, but I need to be able to translate these resources into a passive income or an active income in some way. And I think I need a lot more advice on that. And like I was saying, I have a personal website, but I've not been able to fully, get Google to run some ads on it because I lack content, or I lack some unique content to maybe allow Google to put some ads on it. So this is why I need a lot of advice, because you're a journalist by profession. The first skill you acquired was journalist. You are writing, and I need those writing skills somehow, so that at least I can be able to develop content, and then hopefully potentially get some adverts to run on my website, which I've been trying to do for a while now, and it's not been working nicely. So I need some help on content development, whether it is blogging, whether it is writing, whether it is providing data, like the way I do provide data right now about COVID-19 statistics. And if I can translate that to to generate some income as well on the side, that would be really, really awesome. So I would like you to help me look at that and probably establish a link between us so that we can communicate more. Thank you.
Thank you. Wachira, proceed.
I wasn't quite sure what was the question. I had some comments, some advice, some prospects about business, and I would say anything to do with business, we can talk offline. I think you can pick up my number from there and we can talk, and things like that. But I would like to say maybe what I can say about software development as a career. The most successful projects that we have done are where we develop a component of a system for a client and who stays with it for a long time. Because then that way you not only get the initial programming work, but at the same time also you have got a retainer that revolves around maybe maintaining the system. For example, we ourselves have developed a system that deals with very complex issues of monitoring for carbon credits. And by doing that, we not only have a specialized tool, but that database continues to grow, needs to be maintained, needs to be cleaned up, data needs to be exported or imported, all of that. So as a strategy in my software development work is that I work for one or two clients, but for long-term projects that are specialized in nature, in both ways, that we are using both our specialization and our programming capacity to be able to make that system work. Now, I know in terms of little jobs here and there, that sort of job becomes very, very difficult and tedious to do because, software is a lot of trouble. And if you have got a job, like, for example, that you charge like 20, 30, 40,000 shillings, and then the client introduces new changes that keep on requiring you to go and edit here, go fix that, you suddenly realize that 20,000 shillings or even 100,000 is not money worth working for. So I think you have to have a clear strategy of who you work for and how you work. Our own strategy has been to have a set of tools that we use in an environment to improve the environment of a client in a specialized way.
All right, Kevin.
Okay. All right, thank you. And my other question was on content development. So, for example, if I am having a personal website and I would like to put content into the website and eventually be able to run some ads on it, it means I need to have content that is somehow unique, and my journalistic skills are not very, very well. What do you advise? Do you think I need to learn a little bit about writing, and what would you advise me to, where would you advise me to go? Like, yeah.
My advice, I think if you have noticed from my own blog, if you can follow through my blog, you can see that I have very few followers. My Facebook page has been my most I think popular site for people to want to join me as a friend. But then I don't have any income from Facebook. I've been trying to drive that traffic to my blog, and it's not very easy. My grandson seems to have a better idea than myself in terms of what you can do with software by sharing experiences. But he's too young at the moment. He's still a very small kid. But the kind of things I'm hearing him talk about in software, I'm beginning to think, wow, I think this would make a good hit. So my suggestion is that think about something that can enable people to participate and be part of what you are doing, and then involve them. If you look at some of the most popular things that kids are doing online, like Ninja Kids, I look at them and I see these guys are just showing off, back flipping and things like that. The other kids, I think the most popular kid in the world on YouTube just comments on toys and unboxes them. So I don't think you need complex ideas to be very popular. But if that's your strategy, you have to create content that people identify with. Personally, I am not looking for a very large audiences in that area. I want to be able to share helpful material. And so I publish on my blog and on my Facebook page what I think that people really need. And I have a decent following that I keep working on it, but I cannot make a living off it. I make a living off developing systems that clients can use in their own businesses, because in a corporate setting, that it's much easier for clients to make money and pay me, instead of me trying to get thousands and thousands of people on my blog who can help me get money from advertising. But all of us have different strategies. If I were in the US, I would have a different strategy than I have when I'm in Africa.
Okay, thank you. I got it.
Right. Thank you, Mayubha Wachira. So I want to bring Wekesa to this conversation. Wekesa, you can do a quick introduction, and then you can ask Wachira a question on addressing challenges.
Hi guys, I'm Wekesa Eric. I hail from Machakos County. I am in sales and marketing. I'm glad to meet you. Is he Dr. Wachira, or I should
Mr.
read
Wachira.
the first? Okay, yeah. I have come when you have already done your introduction, but I was catching up with the rest. Maybe I just, in terms of challenges, I will say, since you are into content and writing, we have been told, and this is a general perception, we've been told that if you want to hide something from an African, put it in a book. So in a nutshell, they are saying that we Africans don't love reading. So for us people who have a passion or a desire to develop content, who are our clients? Are we looking at changing Africans' attitude into being good readers? Or are we looking for clients from different world space where people love reading and digging in? If you go to social media and you come up with a good content and put it there, people will tell you, fupisha, make it short, which means they don't love reading. They just want short content. So how do we balance this where we need to access the right information and also the culture of people who don't just love reading?
All right.
Okay, I agree with you. I used to write for a living and I was making very little. And when I switched over from writing and publishing, even though I had a very, very large audience, the income level wasn't anywhere near. I would like to tell you something about Step magazine and what I learned at that time. We did some serious research on reading habits, and the Step was published around the same time when people were saying that they don't actually read magazines. But Step grew to a magazine with 28,000 copies distributed monthly in Kenya, and then around Africa we had 53,000 copies, and we discovered a few things that I think are true up to today. Number one is that people like to read stories, short stories, and we used to interview people and write a story about their personal struggles and be able and get extremely big readerships. Number two, Africans like color. We did some amazing research that revolved around which magazine issues were bought more than others, and we found that the ones that had the four primary colors, either the blue, the green, the red, whatever, just the bright primary colors did better than the ones that were very sophisticated. So I would say make sure that whatever you are publishing out there has got nice colors around it. Then the third thing that I would like to say about it is that a lot of writing never becomes very famous in the days of the authors in countries like ours. So maybe your writing will become famous after you die. So write something that has a legacy orientation, and they don't necessarily expect to make a living out of it, but it should outlive you. I personally have published one novel, a collection of short stories with Jomo Kenyatta Foundation. None of them have ever sold large numbers, even though when people read them, they tell me they really liked them. Right now, I'm working on a novel that I don't expect to make a living off, but it's a large novel. It's my legacy piece of work. I would like the Lord to help me to finish it and to publish it. It will be about 500 or 600 pages when it's done. And I don't know. Where am I writing it? I would like to leave something behind. But for a living, I find something else to do. That's why I developed computer skills personally, because I discovered that if I have to educate my children through a university by paying them from my editor salary, I would never have been able to give them a decent education. So it's a challenging area, but I would like to leave it with a piece of hope, very interesting piece of hope. I have three grandchildren living with me right now, and one of them, my biggest job is to try and keep him away from a book every day. And he's 9 years old, but he's reading the Reader's Digest short books, the condensed books that that are written for adult audiences. And he's into them, and he's not alone. I think there's a big collection of young people like that who are growing up, and that culture of reading is going to be passed on to many of such children who are growing up differently than the way many of us grew. So don't get discouraged. Readership will grow. But if you want to make money from your content, make it something that people can connect with today and not necessarily long or complex to read.
Okay, okay, sir. Yeah, okay, fine. So I want to move in this discussion. Maybe now we can talk about opportunities, especially Mr. Wachira. We understand wewe uko Kirinyaga. You are in Kirinyaga. So maybe we want maybe guys to ask questions in terms of opportunities, because young people only believe opportunities are in urban areas. Huh? Maybe you can ask what opportunities are there in rural areas, in urban areas. Is it time maybe young people to go and venture into agriculture, agribusiness? Because Wachira is in this area, and maybe is already maybe achieving his dream just at the rural area. I will start with Kevin, and then we move down as we
maybe as they come on board before they begin asking their questions. I can tell you 3 quick points. One of them is that there are too many opportunities in Kenya, but young people are looking for shortcuts. Now, when we do an audit job for carbon credits, we have to import auditors from India. Why aren't young people studying to be for climate change mitigation and audits? And that's a huge area. There's big money around it. We pay we pay auditors and transport them all the way from India to bring them over here to come and do verification for carbon audits. If you look at carbon credits themselves as an opportunity, it's a big area. You just need to study the United Nations framework for climate change, UNFCCC, and see all the opportunities that are around there. It's Wazungu that are coming over here to start carbon credit related programs, but Africans themselves are not doing it. So as if you look at the opportunity for storage, anything in Africa is always in short supply the same year when you have a surplus. So thinking about ways in which you can stabilize that, like here I am growing moringa oleifera. I cannot sell all of it in one day. I dry it and I keep it, and I have enough to sell for a whole year. So opportunities are there, but they have to include value addition. They have to include innovation. They have to include looking at where other people are not looking. And even in town, there are many opportunities. When I was I worked with a young group, a youth group in Kangemi, and I trained them to make a plastic pipe using garbage. If you mixed high density plastics using and low density plastics in a sealed pipe, and then you melt them, and you soak it in water to make it to make it cold. What comes out there is a little pipe, and that pipe can be used as a fencing post from garbage. So whether you're looking at Kangemi, whether you're looking at Mathare, whether you're looking, I worked for an organization in Kibera that was trying to figure out how to get rid of the poo that they were collecting so that it does not get into people's home. When we brought it up country in coffee farms, treated of course, and sanitized, it made the coffee produce several times more than an average manure would do because of the phosphorus in human waste. But most people thought that was a very dirty job, and even the government prosecuted me for they say distributing waste. But we had very, very scientific processes we were following. We won the cases, of course, but it's but there is opportunities that can come out in everything you can look at. Africa is full of opportunities, but we are not looking for opportunities. We are looking for shortcuts, and shortcuts are not useful.
All right, interesting. So, Kevin, are we looking for shortcuts as young people? Maybe you can ask Mr. Wachira a question around that topic.
Yeah, of course, young people are always looking for shortcuts. But I think I really feel challenged, and I wanted to ask Mr. Wachira, opportunities that are coming out in technology are diverse, and it means they can come out from any field, and it doesn't have to be specifically computer software or hardware, but it can come out in any field because computers can be used everywhere. But I wanted to be specific about agriculture, and with Mr. Wachira's experience in both software and hardware engineering, have you been able to, would you effectively say that technology has opportunities in the field of agriculture? How good is it? Is it viable? Or is it just speculation and ideas?
All right.
Okay. In terms of opportunities in ICT, if you go to Google and you download their ODK kit, as a software developer, you will understand what I mean. And you use that one to develop simple data gathering forms that can be downloaded to people's phones all over Kenya. There are NGOs that are spending millions collecting data using very archaic methods. That's one of the areas you can actually offer very, very simple solutions. ODK kit develop where their field officers can collect data and submit it directly to a database. Huge opportunity there. In terms of programming, MIT offers a very simple and free, it's called Scratch. I don't know that you know it. Scratch. I'm teaching my grad children is a platform for programming using very, very simple animations that you can now not write code, but just select blocks of code for them and make them either animated. You make them run, you make them laugh, you make them sing, you make them do all those sort of things. And as early as 7-8-year-olds can be able to learn. At the moment, if it is possible for you to develop a platform like that one and offer parents training for programming, those are skills that are needed elsewhere and they are not being taught in schools. I think integrating them with private schools is a huge opportunity. When it comes to mechanization in farms, I've been talking with a friend of mine in the US about collecting tools for mechanization, whether it's a weeding tool or a planting tool or something like that. At the moment, our labor is one of the most expensive in the world because you are paying somebody 350 or 400 shillings to dig for you with a djembe, but the work that they are doing on that one day is so little that you cannot compete effectively in the world. Mechanizing those small-scale farmers is a huge opportunity in itself. So whether you are looking at technology, the mechanical aspects of technology or the software aspects of technology, whether you are looking at tools where a farmer can monitor their farm. There are very many remote location farmers who might want to be monitoring their farms on remotely when they are in Nairobi from their mobile phone. These are solutions you can give. But the most recent one that I've been discussing with a friend in the US, and we are looking at the possibility of finding an investor who can fund us to implement this, reliable weather. Who knew that this rain was going to last how long it has lasted? Nobody. The meteorology department gave us like a 2 weeks warning, and it was for a short period, like a 2-week warning, saying that there's going to be very heavy rains for 2 weeks. Then it extended another 2 weeks. If somebody had given us the right information or given farmers across Kenya the right information, they would have planted the right crop for this particular type of season. So a friend of mine and I are exploring the possibility of relying on the world's most best shared databases, but to give farmers location-specific weather information. If I can get the funding for it, that's really what I would like to do, because then I would like to be able to do something that will affect the whole country and beyond. But I mean, I can talk about this for a long time, but the opportunities are there.
Right.
And do you personally use technology in any of your farms, and in which way?
No, when we set ourselves up here, we did not set ourselves up to farm. We set ourselves first of all to buy from farmers and the process. So we established a factory that could dry our products, and then we were going to target the export market. Now, out of a whole lot of frustrations of working with farmers and working also ourselves, getting reliable employees, we are modifying our business a bit. But one of the things that I am going to set up right now is going to be the things that I can do directly at my home, because anything that you are trying to do too far away from yourself is very, very difficult, because it's difficult to find a reliable person. They are very difficult to find. So I am looking at hydroponics. I've experimented with hydroponics before, but if I do hydroponics for growing all the things that I want to grow, it is something that I can develop to work directly from where I am. And that's just what I'm thinking about. But, I'm an old man and I can't do too much right now. So young people should be the ones to be playing around with those technologies. So to answer your question is, we did not implement our technology in our farming. We implemented our technologies in our processing. But now, because of additional modifications of our business, we could be doing fairly high level type of farming at a very, very small space, but mostly looking at hydroponics. There is one piece of technology we worked with, and we showed farmers how to use it, and it's a product in Kenya called diatomite. I think you read about it when you are in standard 6 or whatever there, that Kenya exports diatomite. One of the greatest uses that you can put diatomite into is in agriculture to preserve water. If diatomite holds 2.5 liters of water. 1 kilo of diatomite can hold 2.5 liters of water. So if you pour it around your coffee or around your moringa or around your beans or around your anything, and you irrigate, you can cut down your irrigation significantly. And we have tried this. We are using this. We work with diatomite, and I'm disappointed that Kenya exports it, because Kenya should be making it available to their farmers, to our farmers.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, so thank you very much, Haron Wachira. I want to bring Conrad. Conrad, can you unmute your mic? All right, maybe you can now ask your question in terms of opportunities for young people.
Yes. So my question, I think it will just be a question and a comment regarding the same. As a young person in a rural area, we understand, because our way of doing things, most of us are very interconnected. Even if I'm not involved, probably coding and the rest of the things per se, but my life mostly revolves around the internet. But especially us in the rural area, our major challenge, probably why people are not interested to come to the rural area, is probably the network coverage is a big issue, and other things. We think that in towns it is better. Sometimes it is better to get opportunities there than in rural areas. But so my question regards to agriculture, because there are so many opportunities in regard to agriculture that can easily be monetized. But we have an issue: access to land and access probably to capital and the rest of the things. So how can young people navigate through that, especially if they want to invest in agriculture per se? That is farming, not the other value addition part of it. I'm just talking, for example, how can young people navigate through access to land and probably access to capital? How can they navigate through that if they plan to go into farming?
All right.
Okay. First of all, I would like to talk about what I said in my presentation about the power of starting small. As a young person, the bigger your project, the more riskier it is. The riskier it is, because you will even if, let's say, somebody gave you a lot of money and you started a big farm and you failed in it, then you've just lost a lot of capital. Now, the willingness to start on a very, very small plot of land, but mainly are now using your knowledge as an educated person, like to implement something that is very well irrigated, and you are protected, you have got conservation measures, and you are able to control your growing, would be a good place to start. Now, finding young people who are willing to start that small is that challenge. Now, land is available and it is not available. Land is available if you are willing to lease it. And you can lease land these days and register your lease with the government, so that effectively that during the period of that lease, you are as well covered as if you owned that land. And I think if you are willing to lease land, land is available. Number two, there's a lot of land lying idle, being held by speculators. There's a program we were looking at with another organization about the possibility of beginning to persuade those people to put out the land for lease. I don't know whether we will succeed in it, but I think it's going after those speculators and tell them, I will take care of your land, give it to me for this 5 years, and we sign up a lease, a long-term lease is the best place to go. But don't start with a lot of land, and don't start with a crop that requires a lot of capital. Start small with very little money and compound the growth. Access to funding is actually a very, very big challenge. And that money is not only expensive, but it is money that will be followed up even if you do not succeed. So I wouldn't encourage you, especially if you don't have experience, to go after that funding you are seeking. Now, if you start small and you succeed with an example of growing something, it is possible for you to find the partnerships that will grow. But I think the biggest problem that young people have is that they do not want to start small. They do not want to wait long. They want something that will work immediately and very fast. If you want that to happen, move into technology. Supply farmers instead with the things that they need. Do research on things that the farmer can use and get a benefit, and then go sell those products to the farmers. Then let them be the ones to do the farming. So I think that you can decide which part of the value chain you want to play in, and because you have a lot of knowledge for research, you can play at a different level than doing the ground level farming.
All right. Conrad, do you have any other subsequent question? Conrad?
No. So my next question is in regards to still on agriculture. We have so many interventions because one of the things that was being said, I think a while back, I don't think the narrative is still there, is that agriculture is a dirty game, and so we need young people to I don't remember the correct term, but something regards to agriculture being smart. And so there have been a lot of startups, you can call them startups, or companies that have come around trying to entice young people into agriculture by offering them an easy way out of them just sitting and relaxing. Then somebody is doing the farming for you, and you are seated at home, probably just on phone checking up. So can people really, without you investing the time and the resources, and your especially the time and resources, probably your time, probably, can you really make a living out of agriculture? That is just you're just trying to to do some you're just trying to waste your money on that.
Right.
I think you have said it, that a lot of people are looking for an easy way out, and that easy way out does not exist. If you are going to be involved in agriculture, you have to be there. If you want to keep cows, you have to be prepared to to come and work with them. If you want to farm, you have to be in the farm. Where I think young people can really make it easier is to adapt new technologies. Like I have a video I saw where some people in China are growing sweet potatoes by covering the ground and keeping it warm and irrigated and sort of like a very controlled way. A young person can do something like that better than an older person. And I think if young people researched ways and means of growing things, but intelligently, like in greenhouses, or growing them like with a lot of intelligence, like in hydroponics, but start small, demonstrate that it is working, and then sell that training to other people with a demonstration that you have. There's a lot of money, I think, being floated by the likes of big organizations, including MasterCard and people like KCB and Equity, all of them trying to promote agribusiness. And I think a young person who has succeeded in a particular area will effectively make money replicating their model by being paid to teach others than they themselves growing like 1,000 acres. So I would say specialize in a particular area, focus on it, demonstrate it, and then after that offer it as a training program to other farmers.
All right. Thank you very much, Wachira. So I want to bring Alphonse. Alphonse, you can ask your question there. Alphonse? Alphonse, are you there? All right. So let's go to Wekesa. Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think today is an issue with the network. It's taking long to even respond when you unmute. So I think I want to ask some very basic questions. And I think these questions are not necessarily about opportunity, but personal capacity development. From what we have listened to and gotten from Mr. Wachira is he has built himself along the way. And Mr. Wachira, you used to do a business in computers. And I want you to give us a lesson, and particularly a lesson around trade. If we are starting a business today, for those who want to do trading, what are the key things we need to think about the business of buying and selling, and what we need to learn from your failures in your business of buying and selling?
Maybe can you hear? As you wait for the other person to ask a question, I would like to point out an area of technology that I have found a lot of people with an interested in. There are very many colleges in the US that are looking to collaborate with students on this in this part of the world. They like to come for tours. They like to participate in projects here so that they can gain practical experience. An exchange program and managing exchange programs with the universities that are just below the Ivy Leagues has been an area that I have seen a lot of interest in. So you may not even be doing the actual agriculture yourself, but you may be participating in linking up students on in the West with the students on this particular side, and you develop a package where you can actually be like a host to coordinate that sort of work. You just go on the internet and look at the sub-Ivy League universities. They are called Ivy League wannabes. Many of them, they all have a program where they take their kids overseas for at least once every year. And I know at least one friend of mine who is hosting these people. I myself host one group from Lehigh University that comes to Kenya from time to time. And but it's an area that can be grown.
All right. Now, maybe now you can respond to Alphonse's question. Alphonse, you can continue. Alphonse.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted when those people who want to do business of buying and selling, they want to start up a shop, to start up something, And from your experience of dealing with computer hardwares in the early 90s, and maybe when M-Pesa started, also you opening up an M-Pesa shop, what are the lessons that you like us to learn from what you did right and what you did not get right? And if you're to exit a business, what is the indicator that young people should learn to, that this is the thing that I need to pick so that at this point now I need to exit this business? And how does it?
Alphonse, are you there? Alphonse? All right. Seems you are losing Alphonse. So maybe
Yes.
before,
Are you not able to hear me?
yeah, we were unable
Yes.
for time, but proceed. Alphonse, proceed.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm saying. So I already asked the question. You didn't get the question?
Yeah, you are breaking, so the question did not come completely well. Huh? So is it okay? You can finish it. All right. So I still think there is some
Okay.
network issue.
So yes. Let me put it in smaller bits.
Mhm. All right. Okay. There's a problem. Wachira, just proceed. I'm sorry. It seems the network is not good.
Yeah, no, I did not. If Alphonse asked the question, I did not hear it. So I think we just continue talking
Yeah.
about this. I think the what I would like to encourage young people is to stop being local and really look internationally. There are very many opportunities for collaboration with kids all over the world. I said to my own kids recently, if we are watching their kids unbox their toys, what, just think about all the things that we can show about our wildlife, about our video clips that we can shoot here and host them online for them to be able to see things in Africa that they don't see in their other side. I think there is a place for that. Also, joint projects. If we are university, if young people in a university can be able to develop joint projects and encourage their faculty to collaborate with lecturers in other universities around the world. There are very many joint projects that students can do. If there are people who are in electrical engineering, think about it. You know, we have so much flowing water, fast rivers that can just generate electricity and distribute it within neighboring communities. I think we have a lot of mechanization the demands. We have a lot of things that can be. I saw somebody who did a water pump, simple water pump that is a pump. No, not even a water pump. I think it's a ventilator that is using solar. You can do water pumps. We can do many things. So why is it that young people are not coming up with inventions? I think it is because they have been schooled to expect to be employed. They have been schooled to expect that somebody else will do the work and they will just rest and get paid. So I think the biggest thing that we need from our young people, this generation, is a change of mind to know that making money comes through being inventive. You come up with solutions and offer them to people, and people will pay for them.
All right. Thank you very much. So Alphonse is back. So Alphonse, can you quickly ask about your question?
Yeah. I hope now you're able to hear me. Yeah. I wanted. Yes, I wanted us to just learn a few things from Mr. Wachira's experiences. Number one is his experience of business, of buying and selling or trade. what are the things that you did well, and particularly in your business of early business of maybe selling computer hardware and such, that we can learn from, particularly your successes, and what are the failures that the young people who are serious with being creative and also impactful in business world to make an impact, but also to have financial freedom can learn from.
All right.
I formed a company that was called Diamond Systems in joint partnership with an American in 1993, and our whole model was to target the big companies like IBM that were selling computers at that time for 260,000 shillings. And we outmarketed them by just coming up with a computer that would be half that price. Initially, we were criticized that our computers would not last, so we gave a 3-year warranty. We bought a solar spot on the nation every Sunday to target the home market directly, because we discovered that by doing tenders, we wouldn't succeed because the government was very corrupt as it is right now. And we sold computers to individuals. We sold computers to schools. We introduced learning tools like CDs and things like that. And I think in 3 years we had more than 30% of the market in Kenya for personal computers. We brought the prices down, and we had very good margins. Now, the major mistake I would say that I personally made in that venture was not to secure my interest properly in dealing with people who had more money and more power than myself. And I would say at this particular moment is a warning I would give to young people that if you are forming a partnership, make sure that your own interests are very well taken care of in an agreement, because when the business grows, sometimes greed sets in and you get thrown out of your own business. So I would say in hardware right now, the big market is not in hardware, because that market has been commoditized. You can buy a tablet for 15,000, 20,000 shillings. You can buy a laptop for 30,000 shillings. The margins involved are very small, like 5%, 10%. I was working with 30, 40% at one time, and then later on 20% margin. But I would say the market right now is in the content for the computers, whether it is like this curriculum, that the CBC curriculum that is being offered. I've seen some clever young people who are selling content online. I go look for the class 7 curriculum, I get it, and then I want to download it, and it says you need to pay 100 shillings with M-Pesa. I like that. There is opportunity there. So I would say that focus on developing content at the moment. That's where the computer business should become profitable. Or focus on developing tools that businesses can use. But I think the age of hardware as a business, unless you have got big money to be able to stock a very well-equipped shop, I don't think that you can make a lot of money on hardware as we were able to do that time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, on let's say somebody, we have a culture in Kenya where when we see our neighbor doing something and it succeeds on their end, we duplicate it. And I want to give an example of M-Pesa. What do you think Kenyans should learn from this, and how should entrepreneurs who are coming up and the younger business people what should they do so that they run away from the trappings of a similar situation?
Right, Wachira.
And all over the world. So I don't think that you should just think that this is just a Kenyan something. China, for many, many years, has just been copying the US, and it's only now that they have become very established. So it's only that we are a very small country, so that when you do something and you get copied, you think, man, my idea has gone away. But the way to avoid being copied is to come up with a unique proposition. I told you, like, for example, in my software development work right now, I'm not prepared to develop little websites and things like that. Even my own website is not very well developed. I make money in software by developing tools that are used in a very specialized environment. For somebody to copy my software, the tool that we are using on the carbon credit arena, they would have to actually completely understand carbon credits, how they work, how the audits get done, what numbers to keep, how the metrics are calculated. They would have to go to school for several years to be able to copy that. So because it's a specialized area that I've invested a lot of time in, I can develop tools that somebody dealing with carbon credits can immediately see, wow, this is something good that I can use in my business. So you find that as far as I know, at the moment in that particular arena, we don't have a competitor. But it is because of the complexity of entry that we have created into it. But that comes with time. In the immediate short term, if you have got an idea you can copy, you should copy it and implement it. But the money that you are making, make sure you invest in something that is enabling you to do something that is more complex. So we say it's a Kenyan thing to copy, and it is, but it is an indication that Kenyans are willing to actually do things that are profitable. If it was within my power and I was in government, I would, and I have done this, by the way, when I was chairman of Tana Water Service Board, I created a technique for copying for my groups. We wrote several proposals that targeted donors for specific amounts of money, and we left blanks for the groups to just fill in their village, their name, what they do, and all of that. And out of the 400 groups that were in my water network, the majority of them were able to get funding because we enabled them to copy a project proposal. So copying is not all bad. There is some good things about it. But if it was within my power as at the top of government, I would actually employ people who can create businesses that can be copied by young people. I set up one milk shop in Mwea, that the first one that had a tiled floor and a good, bench and a chilled milk and serving it on a clean counter. Within 6 months, in the first month, I was selling like 1,200 liters of milk per day. And then within 6 months, we were selling 60 liters, 70 to 60 liters per day. But there were 45 shops that had been built just like ours and better than ours. So, I can sit there and complain, but I was very happy that we transformed the way milk is sold in Mwea. Now, of course, we ourselves lost, but I think for the country, that is good. So don't discourage copying. Most people learn by copying. Kids learn by copying. Language is learned by copying. You imitate somebody speaking. So we speak so negatively about copying, but it is through copying that many things can come out.
All right, good.
Yeah. This platform has been encouraging young people to rise up in various fields so that they can become change agents and they can stand up and be counted. Now, one of the fields that we have to host young people on this show, including yesterday, is the field of politics. What is your take about young people getting involved in politics in the Kenyan environment, and what do you want them to learn or know in advance as they enter into it? Because some people, including the ones in the panel, are interested in entering into politics. And I know you have been involved in politics in one way or the other, particularly in strategic formulation.
I was involved in politics on 2 occasions, and in both cases I ended up with some serious regrets. One, when Ken Matiba was running for president, I believed very strongly that if I supported a candidate who could set honesty as the primary pillar of running our government, that would be great. So I participated in that whole process. I helped him together with others to write a vision for Kenya. We popularized him around the country. We published his speeches in a very organized sequence in the newspapers on both space, and I I think we won the election. It's just it was taken away from us. But after Ken Matiba lost, we tried to persuade him to go through another 5-year cycle of preparing for the next election, and he was not interested. And I suddenly began to learn something about politicians, is that they are very, very, very short-sighted focused. Ken Matiba, as a businessman, was extremely good and long-term focused and could build a business empire over many, many, many years. In his dream for politics, he wanted to be president within the period that he was running, but we had a different agenda. We did succeed in convincing him to start the People newspaper. He funded it. We started the People newspaper, and it became the fastest selling weekly within less than 10 weeks in Kenya, and it became successful. I left the People after it became a daily. I did not think that they were ready to become a daily at that time. But as a weekly paper commenting on issues of society, it was great. And he's not with us, but I respected Ken Matiba a lot. I also supported Martha Karua. I think she's an extremely good woman and a good politician and a totally honest person. The Kenyan politics do not seem to favor an honest person. So when she could not connect and convince corrupt Kenyans to support her, obviously her presidency or her bid to succeed in politics did not seem to be going very well. I still respect Martha Karua a lot. I think she's a great person. This country misses a lot by not giving her the right position that she should have. In any place that she has been, she has done a tremendous job. When she was in water, we transformed the water industry, the water sector, and if she can be given an opportunity in any aspect of Kenyan society, I think she would do a great job. Now, those are not the only few good people there are, but I personally, my effort was in trying to support good people to get into political positions, and I did not do well at all in either of them. If you can judge from those two failures from our end. Now, as an individual, personally, I don't have an interest in politics. I don't think that that's where I'm called to. I am not called to play the role of politics. And but for those who are, I would say do serious research and determine what are going to be your method of success, because it looks as if the only way to succeed in Kenyan politics is to join a bandwagon of the big players. Now, I don't personally, I would never do that, and I for that reason I don't think that I would succeed as a politician. I would rather preach the gospel and help people to get to know the Lord and to walk faithfully in their walk as Christians. But those who are willing to play that game, I would think we have a space for as many honest people as possible who could be able to transform the Kenyan political scene to be not a corrupt bandwagon of people just cheating people. That's what William Wilberforce did. And if you study his history, I think you would notice over 26 years, he succeeded only once to get the slave trade abolished. But he put that motion in his own country for 26 years, patiently talking to politicians over and over again, converting a few of them to be honest each time, so that eventually after 26 years, he had a majority in parliament that worked with him to overturn slave trade. That level of patience and that level of diligence and just willful focus around what you want to do is what we would need young people to do. And we do have a place for that in our country, but the number of people who would be willing to go through that level of sacrifice is probably very, very, very little.
All right.
My last one. Young people who are entering into business, and as Kevin was putting it, they have the idea. They also feel the way Conrad was saying that their problem is capital. And therefore, as a result, we have had the issue of venture capitalism, where people want to buy the shares or part of your business and give you the cash. And you have raised an issue of being cautious when you're dealing with somebody who is who is more powerful financially. When you say so that when you enter into such partnership, you secure your interest. So maybe just a quick one: how do you secure interest when you're dealing with a powerful person buying part of your business, so that you cannot lose your business and your interests are covered and you're able to enjoy, and also the legacy or the vision you had for the business can continue?
All right, proceed.
That is very well discussed, and it does not have to be a technical agreement. You can agree that I will, like, for example, I remember that I had a business in which I was working with people whom I suspected would be corrupt, and we put in a clause in our agreement that if they ever introduce corruption in our business, I would have the veto power to overturn it, you know. And that clause played a very, very big role later on to protect me from a very dangerous thing that they almost did. So it is just thinking logically, what would you like? I would like to be able to keep a portion of my business. If I'm the technical person, I would like to be the one to make decisions on the technical side. Put all of that down in writing in the normal way of speaking, so that when you finally go to a lawyer to write that agreement and to register it, it will be representing all the things that you would like. And if you need to seek advice from older people, you know, like myself or somebody else, and in terms of this is the kind of business I'm going into, these are the kind of clauses I have. Is there anything you can comment? In a quick glance through an agreement like that one, it can take a person with experience more than 3 minutes to be able to tell you maybe include this, include that. But most of them have to do with when can they take you over in spite of their majority shareholding. And you should be able to say that if you were to take me over, etc., these particular safeguards will apply. You will take care of my initial sweat capital and convert it at maybe 100 times the value that the company will be at that particular time. You know, I mean, a crazy number that will make sure that they are not interested in removing you, but they are willing. They want to work with you. The second part is to secure yourself through your capacity, what you can develop, what you can do. Because if there aren't other people who can do what you are doing, at that particular moment, you are indispensable. So create a role for yourself that you are delivering a service that is actually incomparable. I mean, look at what Apple did. They kicked out Steve Jobs. They went down to the ground. They brought Steve Jobs back because of his capacity, and Apple grew to the kind of company that we now know, even though Steve ended up dying. So I think you secure yourself by writing an agreement and also playing a role that is truly valuable for the company.
All
But
right.
better still, start small. Start a very, very, very small business. I know a young man who started developing a software for circles, and he only did one circle, but did it very, very well. Then he began to get bigger jobs. The last time I was playing the role of advisor for an organization in which this young man was selected to offer a solution. And I remember a time when the board realized that he's just an individual and he's a young person. They almost kicked him out and began to, you know, to talk badly about, you know, how insecure they will be surrounded by a young person. And I did not even know him personally. I had never even come across him. But I defended him very heavily in that board meeting. He was given the job. There was several million shillings job. And he told me it was one of the biggest jobs he has ever got after that. And now he's beginning to play the big league because he started out well. So start small and grow your business. It will grow.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to move maybe for the interest of time. So I want maybe Wekesa and Kevin in this to actually ask very quick questions. And then now we'll go to the parting shots, and then with Mr. Wachira, maybe time to tell us the way forward for young people and where we move from here. Wekesa, you can do a quick one, please. Okay, sir. Okay, sir, you there? All right. Okay.
Okay. In terms of opportunity, I've listened to you. I wanted to ask, there was a time around 2013 there. I was involved with, there were young people, I think from central Kenya, who are doing research in biofuel. Biofuel, there were seeds, they were getting seeds from Aberdare, Sagana there. In their research, they were told that these seeds can produce fuel. And then their findings also showed that the seeds, the trees that grows those seeds, that produces those seeds, are able to cure quite a number of diseases, including cancer. The reason I'm bringing that aspect is that looking at what Madagascar is doing, is Kenya sleeping on its own resources? And are we having opportunities in agribusiness? If we did enough research of the natural resources we have, we could produce maybe things like biofuel, things like medicine that can cure our diseases, that can provide fuel for our own local consumption and even export. Have we left our opportunities, or have we slept on our opportunities, and we like the majority of people say that Africa is a sleeping giant, that maybe we have resources like gold, but we are still poor. Are young people exposed enough to see such like opportunities that can transform their lives and the livelihood of this nation?
All right. Bwana Wachira?
Actually, I think that's an excellent question. It's one of the greatest questions that has been asked on this show. And I would like to respond to it as follows. I think, number one, our universities are failing us heavily. I did a project with one of our local universities, and from our profits, we created a research fund. And my interest was to develop software and tools that could be made available for automation and things like that in the country. We tried to challenge the university lecturers to use that research fund to develop products, but they wanted to use that research fund to organize a conference where they can get paid allowances and the money gets finished. Now, if our universities are not leading in research, we are in trouble. I was very impressed when I saw that in at least two, I think both Jomo Kenyatta and the Kenyatta University have developed what are they calling it?
Ventilator.
Yeah.
Ventilators.
A ventilator for aiding people in breathing during when they are attacked by the coronavirus. I think that's a very, very good development. At one time, Jomo Kenyatta also developed a small tilling machine that could be used in farms. So I think the encouragement here is that our universities should be busy doing research, not only on mechanization, but also on trees. I have a personal experience with a tree called the Prunus africana, and that particular tree, it completely treats enlarged prostates. I have seen it happen many times over. I pack it. I pack it in as a small tea bag that I sell. But the research for the Prunus africana in its test as a cure for cancer is something that has never been quite finished. And if we researched these areas and came up with the products, I think that would be great. Now, Africa has got a lot of resources. I don't think we have any lack of them. But notice that the countries with the biggest resources are the ones that are the poorest, including like the Congo. And notice that there are players out there in the world market who will make sure that we cannot use our resources. So it's only through Africa to Africa collaboration that such resources can be developed, not looking into the West as for help, because we are a threat and to those people, and they will see us that way and make sure that our programs, we can extract oil, but we can never make money out of it. We can grow coffee, but we can never grow rich from that coffee. So if Africa will come out shining, it will come out shining by collaborating within Africa and coming up with solutions that they are offering to the world. The countries that have developed most, best in the coming out from under development, like Singapore, did not do it with the help of the West. They did it on their own. They defied the World Bank in many instances. President Kibaki showed us that way himself by going to China when America was putting a lot of conditions on us. So it is that thoughtful leadership that we need at that level, at the government level, and at the level of maybe universities. But below there, as individuals, if there is a particular area that you can perfect and develop, there are people looking for projects. There are people who will participate in partnering with the projects that will do good. I am personally talking to a number of people on the possibility of using Moringa oleifera, which is a very nutritious plant, to make animal feeds instead of using chemical extracts. But at that particular level, you don't need government, you don't need anybody else. You can just do those sort of innovations at your level, and if they grow, they'll be copied by other people. So let's also not sit down. Let's be looking at areas where we can develop solutions, but be prepared to start those solutions in a very small way and then grow over time.
Okay, this one is a quick one. Since you are you are an all-round person, balanced in terms of profession and spirituality, there has been always talks that religion is killing Africa. Do you believe so?
Can you unmute your mic, Bwana Wachira? I'm sorry. Unmute your mic. Bwana Wachira, unmute your mic. Okay.
Okay. I would say I am not religious. I am a Christian. And there's a big difference. Religion is practicing a set of rules and mechanisms and procedures and complications that actually make somebody totally unuseful in society. And yet, to that extent, religion is killing Africa. But faith in God and faith in Jesus Christ practiced is actually the solution for the problems that we have in the world, because we are talking about producing men of integrity. We are talking about, the Bible talks about hard work. The Bible talks about being inventive. The Bible talks about saving. The Bible talks about being able to come up with things that benefit other people. I covered those in my presentations. And if we practice those, we are actually a good use for society. The organizations I'm working for right now are owned by people who are not Christians, but they appreciate my Christianity because they know that my faith actually protects them from the losses that they incur when they are dealing with people who are unfaithful. So if Christians practice faithfully where they are working, if Christians served their employers faithfully. If we did business the way the Bible talks about it, the Bible says the Lord hates a businessman who has got two types of scales. But that's a practice we see all over, including our women putting potatoes in buckets in a way that you do not get a proper bucket of potatoes. So Christianity practice is a savior to society. Religion practice is a poison to society.
All right. Thank you very much, Wachira. So I want to move to Kevin. Kevin, you can ask your questions, your question quickly, and then I go to now to the parting shot.
Well, I think I already asked my questions. In the interest of time, I will pass this on to Alphonse.
Okay, good. So maybe you can do your parting shot, because this is maybe a quick parting shot.
All right. So I personally feel very challenged today with Honorable Mr. Wachira on the show tonight, and I want to thank you for what you're doing. Learning from you the technical aspect of you being an all-round person, and also bringing the spirituality, has been really, really encouraging. And I think I also looked at your website and learned a few things here and there. So I think this has really been a very fruitful discussion tonight. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Alphonse, parting shot.
Before I go to my parting shot, maybe I just want to hear from Wachira to tell us briefly about Akili Holdings.
Okay. Akili was established to work with small-scale farmers. We had done some research with the United Nations on the kind of things that make it difficult for farmers to succeed, and we use those principles effectively to establish a business that would do that. Now, we have been faced with a lot of our own challenges, and we are still growing as a small business. But in principle, right now, what we are covering is we have a beekeeping value chain that is growing nicely. We have Moringa oleifera as a product that we grow and are seeking to grow with farmers and then processing it for the market. And we, of course, we have supportive tools like beehives that we make available to farmers, and finished products like lemongrass and things like Prunus africana and Moringa oleifera and the animal feeds that we are producing. So for you, your generation out there, the most likely product for you to be interested in would be our honey, which is completely pure. It's not adulterized. And then also our Moringa oleifera, which is a great immune booster. If you serve it with food, just sprinkle it on whatever food you are cooking. So Akili is doing well as a small organization because of challenges of capital and a lot of challenges of finding good human resource. We have decided to grow it very slowly, organically. Otherwise, we started out big, employed a lot of people, and you'll be surprised about this, but out of all the agronomists that we have hired, there wasn't one single one who could grow a crop in the field. Not one of all the ones that we have recruited. So we resorted to working with guys who haven't gotten the kind of education that the agronomists who had university degrees came with. So it's also a challenge for us and for the universities to actually produce people who have a skill that can be practiced on the ground, because that's an area of a lot of challenge for us to find skilled people. But we are here in Kirinyaga. If you ever come around this site, we can take you for a tour.
Okay. The other thing I want to say is, Mr. Wachira, you should be expecting us to invite you in the show, not necessarily as a speaker, but also to listen to other young people, so that when we will now ask for your assistance, we will understand the nature of the people that we are hosting in the show, and you'll also understand our purpose in general in the show. So please, we request that when we call you, not necessarily as a guest, just to come and hear what other young people are having and saying, you will come. Is that something you can do for us?
That's totally understandable. I'll be there.
Okay, thank you. Lastly, this is my parting shot. We are grateful for your time today. You have been a resource. You have shared a lot of things with us. I can guarantee you that those who will be watching this even after the show, in either on YouTube or on Facebook, there's one or two things they will have to learn from it. Personally, as I said when we were starting, you are one of those people who influenced me. That time you told me to think through whether I want to be employed or to start with a starting up or start my own things. I went, got employed, and after some time, I prepared myself, and I'm out there. And therefore, the things you are sharing are practical, because it's now over 3 years since I left formal employment, and the Lord has been faithful. I've been learning step by step, growing organically, and I've no doubt that in the next 10 years, there will be something huge. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. So you can go to Wekesa, parting shot.
Yes, I would say I've quite learned a lot from Wachira, and I'm encouraged. My eyes of understanding have opened, and felt that of my interests, especially in writing. I also want to say, for all of us young people in Africa, majority of us have challenges because we grew up in struggling backgrounds, and most of the time backgrounds of struggle, what they confer to us or what they bequeath us is the scarce mentality. The scarce mentality shows us that resources are few, and they can deplete anytime, and we are always scrambling with the few resources. But if we can tap into the universe mind of God and understand that around us lies great potential that we need to unlock, we will live to our fruitfulness. We need to change our exposure so that we can reach out to people who have done something and succeeded, like Wachira. Mind the people you interact with, mind your mentors, and you will tap into intellectual resources that will turn around your life for effectiveness. Around you lies challenges that can be turned into opportunity. I would like to quote one of the scriptures, that is Hebrews 11 and verse 15. It talks that if Israelites had time to think about Egypt, they would have had an opportunity to go back. I want you to reflect on that. That means most of the opportunities comes through our reflection. If you think backwards, chances are you will go backwards. If you think forward, you will find yourself progressing. If you think deep and wide, you will expand. Otherwise, have a good night.
Thank you very much, Wekesa. I'll now let Kira to tell us the way forward for the youth.
I would say the way forward for the youth is to reflect on how to get started. In other words, make sure that you have got something that you are starting right now. It doesn't matter how small it is, but let it be something that you have started. Then be prepared to grow it ethically, grow it consistently, grow it over time with patience, and make sure that you protect it and take care of it exactly the same way that that a mother takes care of a baby. Nurture it, then it will grow effectively to adulthood. That is the method that God has given out as a way of building up things. Start small, grow it, build it. two books I can recommend. One of them is called Small is Beautiful. I read that book when I was 20 years old, and I've never regretted it. Small is Beautiful by Schumacher. There's another one that that I have read recently, The Small Startup. The Small Startup, I'm trying to remember who the author is, but if you look on the internet, you can actually see it. That is a great book also for people who are willing to start small businesses and grow them. And the third one, finally, that I've just remembered is an interesting book for reflection, and it's called The 2-Second Advantage. If you read those 3 books and you take them seriously and you practice the lessons that have been taught, and then you apply the principles that are taught by people like Warren Buffett of being able to consistently stay focused in a particular area as a young person, you will find yourself growing. But do not wait to be provided for. Do not wait for somebody else to be the one to do the work for you. If you make mistakes, that's okay, because mistakes help you to learn something new. So don't stop just because you made some major mistakes. Even mistakes that make you start all over again. The experiences that you have learned will help you, especially when you're young. When you are older, a mistake becomes very costly because it's very difficult for you to gain the time that you need. But as a young person, you have a lot of time to grow back again. So be prepared to fail, accept the failure, learn from it, and move on to the next height. But don't stay waiting for your parents or waiting for the government or waiting for somebody. Start small, grow it ethically, patiently, and consistently over time, and you will find that you will do well.
All right, thank you very much. So I want to say that we are now coming to the end of our session. Thank you very much for everyone who joined and all the people who asked questions. So I also want to pass my special thanks to Besong. We want you on the show very soon. She's a marketer in German. Right, Wachira, asante sana for making time for us. It has been really a wonderful and insightful conversation. You really helped most of us that are just in that verge of maybe trying to reinvent themselves. Asante sana.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Great. So, guys, good night. Let's do this again tomorrow.
Siku moja moja ukipata nafasi tukumbukane, nitalipa boda boda, achana mwendo kasi usijibane bane. Ewe binti maringo, sijui wanisikia, pendo lako nicheze bingo, wenda nikajishindia.